That's not an attack to just stop the Oscars. That's an attack to end me.
But the past is relevant with you with underage girls.
Absolutely no, it's not.
Fair. I think
I'm
we
sorry.
can always hold our
I'm sorry.
You're also putting a hierarchy over who can be offended. Now I'm offended.
The story that was being told about me won, even though it wasn't true.
That's not activism. That's not bringing about change.
This is not me. I'm fighting for my life.
If someone somewhere in the world will find what you say offensive, so what? Who cares?
Someone tweets a little joke that's misunderstood and their life is ruined and they get fired from their job. That's awful.
So I wanted to start this documentary by defining the term cancel culture. It's the practice of publicly rejecting, boycotting, or ending support for people because of their morally unacceptable views or actions. Basically, it's a modern form of ostracism, which means to exclude or banish from a group or society, which dates back to ancient Greece.
This is Sparta!
Athenian leader Cleisthenes created the punishment of banishing people to prevent a single person from becoming a tyrant.
Saddam Hussein's pride.
Joseph Stalin dominated the Soviet Union.
The way they would do this is similar to our modern day elections, only no one wants to win this one. Citizens of Athens would write the name of their candidate on a piece of pottery. 6,000 votes would be cast, and the person with the largest number of votes would be banished for 10 years. If they refused, they were sentenced to death. But here's the kicker. When they came back after their time was served, it was as if nothing ever happened. Their citizenship was still theirs, and the people of Athens welcomed them back with open arms. I don't know if the same can be said about cancel culture today. Now, the term cancel culture is everywhere.
Cancel culture.
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 It first started roughly around 2017 after the idea of canceling celebrities for problematic behavior became popular. Merriam-Webster correlated the rise of cancel culture with the Me Too movement.
Hi, my name's Tarana Burke, and I'm the founder of the Me Too movement.
Thousands of women are using 2 words on social media to identify themselves as survivors of sexual harassment and assault.
This is global.
Then, it gained more steam. Google Trends show that there was almost no search for the phrase cancel culture until 2018. Soon after, celebrities including Taylor Swift and Kanye West were being canceled. Writer Jonah Bromwich explained that almost everyone worth knowing has been canceled by someone. And finally, the best definition of canceled was posted on Urban Dictionary. So if cancel culture started as a means to punish people who've done regrettable things, then what's so bad about it?
A young boy, R. Kelly, is accused of abusing.
Anti-Kelly rallies outside of Sony Music headquarters in New York.
Comedian and actor Kevin Hart is stepping down from his duties.
I have made the choice to step down from hosting this year's Oscars.
And apologize for your tweets of old. We're going to have to move on and find another host.
This is not me. I'm fighting for my life.
There are 2 cases I want to bring up. Let's take a look at the timeline of R. Kelly's demise. In 1994, he married Aaliyah. The catch? He was 27 and Aaliyah was 15 years old, but faked being 18 on the wedding certificate. In 2002, he had 2 other court cases which involved illegal acts with minors, and the cases were settled with R. Kelly paying a lot of money to cover them up. In the same year, he was charged with 13 counts of producing illegal child videos, although there wasn't enough evidence to find him guilty. Gloria Allred, the lawyer who represented several of his victims, explained that of all the predators I have pursued, R. Kelly is the worst. Finally, in 2018, R. Kelly was canceled. #mute R. Kelly. Now let's take a look at the second case.
How you doing, Kevin? How are you, big guy? What's up, fam?
All right, Kev, you're the man.
In July of 2009, Kevin Hart sent out a series of tweets regarding homosexuality. Fast forward to almost 10 years later, on December of 2018, Kevin Hart was announced as the Oscars host. Within hours, Twitter users began reposting Kevin's old tweets and jokes saying that he never apologized for them, therefore should not be allowed to host the Oscars. Articles upon articles were being formed about Kevin being homophobic and unwilling to apologize for it. And on that note, Kevin Hart stepped down from hosting the Oscars and proceeded to apologize. And apologize.
I had to address it when I did Get Hard promo with Will Ferrell because of my joke that I had about my son.
And apologize.
I had to address those tweets in 2012.
And apologize.
Kevin, apologize for your tweets of old. This is not the first time this has come up. I've addressed it. It's onion, so no matter how many times you keep peeling it, there is no end to it. I apologize again. I said I apologized before.
Did Kevin Hart deserve that backlash just as much as R. Kelly did? One problem with cancel culture is that it cannot be monitored. In a criminal justice system, the aim is to judge a crime fairly and create a punishment that matches the crime. And while it's not perfect, when you compare that to cancel culture, I think the point is clear. The crime doesn't usually match the punishment. I'm not saying that Kevin Hart has never been at fault. He said things he regrets, but he's learned from them. He has rebuilt his reputation and vowed to never make those jokes again. My friends, some of the best lessons we ever learn, we learn from our mistakes. But does cancel culture allow us to do that?
I want to apologize to the internet. I owe you an apology.
I'm only here to say that I'm so sorry.
Sorry for anybody who I've ever offended.
I apologize so deeply.
I want to make this video to say sorry to everyone.
Continue to grow and mature.
Who are they to tell me what I can and can't do?
I mean, we're better to hear different ideas and argue.
As the cultural shift toward political correctness has swept through our society, the expectation for us now is to be socially aware. People broadcast their every thought and we hold people accountable for what they say online, but it doesn't really work that way. The main issue with cancel culture is that it does not allow people to learn from their mistakes. Individuals are more often than not shunned and no longer supported, no matter the apology. But as humans, we need to make mistakes to grow. In a recent study, Gabriela Stoya looked at math classrooms to consider the impact of mistake-friendly versus mistake-unfriendly environments. They found that when students perceived their classroom as accepting of mistakes, they worked harder. But in a mistake-unfriendly environment, they just felt fear. I think we can all agree that if someone does something unacceptable, they should be held accountable. But at this point, there's a fine line between accountability and bullying. What's disturbing about canceling is that it allows people to hide behind a screen and openly humiliate a person with the support of thousands or sometimes even millions.
A 12-year-old classmate jumped to her death a month ago. A sheriff in Florida has arrested 2 girls ages 12 and 14 on felony charges of aggravated stalking in a case of cyberbullying.
Here's the summarized definition of cyberbullying according to stopbullying.gov. It takes place over digital devices and can occur on social media and forums. It includes posting harmful or false content about someone causing humiliation. If you ask me, that sounds pretty close to canceling.
When people say, I hope you die, somebody should kill your family, it is online bullying.
Bullying is an emotional response, not a logical one. When you're angry, you post these hurtful things and encourage others to take action on it too. It violates the principle that our justice system is built upon, innocent until proven guilty. But the difference between bullying and canceling is that people who cancel others believe that they're doing the right thing. They stand up for the injustices they see on social media and don't even question if it's real or fake or if it's something they even fully understand. Because if it's on the internet, then it must be true and you shouldn't question it, right?
Fake news, we live in a fake world, points out.
You are fake news.
Misinformation.
Misinformation.
Fake news.
Fake news.
In 1951, students of Swarthmore College participated in an interesting experiment. Students were asked to complete a seemingly easy task. Each person in the room had to say out loud which comparison line was most like the target line. But the catch was, everyone in the room was in on the experiment except for the last person. The answer was obvious, but the people in on the experiment would always choose the wrong line. So what did the real participants do?
Definitely
C.
After 12 trials, 75% of real participants conformed to the group and at least once gave the wrong answer. And in the control group with no pressure to conform, only less than 1% of participants gave the wrong answer. Conformity is ingrained in our human nature. In order to survive, we must live in a community. But what's different about our current generations is that we are not just connected to a small community, but now the entire world through social media. Bad news spreads like wildfire, but as we've seen in the study, it spreads even if it's fake.
He's a professor at Evergreen State, and he called the race-based demand, quote, a show of force and an act of oppression.
Read your letter, and your letter didn't sound racist at all. It sounded very well thought out. The inflammatory response to your letter was so disturbing and shocking.
The administrators sided with the protesters, even though they knew full well there was no evidence of racism. I was pursued as if I had said something egregious, allowed the world to see that this isn't about guilt at all. It's about power.
You see this happen in the incident of Evergreen State University's professor Brett Weinstein. He made national headlines for being racist.
Said some racist. I did not.
Once a year, this university allows students of color to take a day of absence. But this time, it was flipped. Rather than telling people of color to stay away for the day, they told white people to stay away for the day. Weinstein didn't believe in this flip, so he wrote a letter against the new policy. Because of this, 50 students showed up to his class protesting that he was racist.
Bearded man with his hands on his head is Brett Weinstein.
But they were wrong.
They imagine that I am a racist and that I am teaching racism in the classroom.
The story that was being told about me, in the end, won, even though it wasn't true.
His intentions were actually to help the cause because he felt that the former option of allowing students of color to stay away for the day had a more powerful impact. But at that point, no one would listen. The videos went viral, and after being professor for 14 years with not a single incident of racism, he was forced to leave. This is just one of the thousands of stories you can find online. There are millions of people who stand up for something they believe is moral, but in reality, they're misinformed. This is the problem of mob mentality. When animals in herds are in a dangerous situation, they band closely together in a group. They go into panic mode and move together as one unit. It's unusual for a member of the herd to stray away. For humans, when herd behavior sets in, an individual's opinion-forming process is shut down as he or she automatically follows the group's behavior. And as Benjamin Franklin once said, if everyone is thinking alike, then no one is thinking.
Someone, somewhere in the world, will find what you say offensive. So what? Who cares?
And when someone tweets a little joke that's misunderstood and their life is ruined and they get fired from their job, that's awful.
I have no interest in gender or race or anything like that, but everyone else is kind of calculating, is this the exact right mix? To me, it's anti-comedy.
Times are changing, and with it, comedy as well. The limit that someone can joke about is becoming more restricting. Comedy, whether that be stand-up or a Netflix special, requires freedom and flexibility. A comedian has two jobs: telling fantastic jokes and filling the audience with joy. If they worry about every little detail of a joke they make, they'll fail to be genuine. One of the best parts of stand-up is its improvisation.
Hello!
I'm your waiter. My last name's Ryan.
What took you so long?
Don't you understand? We need some food at the table fast! No!
And the beauty of improv gets taken away if people feel that they're walking on eggshells. When we take a step back and see the bigger picture, our entire generation is changing. Generation Z, those ages 9 to 24, represent 1 in 5 US residents. But there's a subsection of Generation Z that's one of the most powerful and influential groups today. They're called iGen. So what makes iGen so powerful? Well, iGen stands for Internet Generation.
What do you think about people who have anxiety and panic attacks? Oh, you have anxiety and panic attacks? Like anything else, the more you go through it, the easier it tends to become. Keep putting your next foot in front of, your feet forward. That's life, That's usually how it goes.
I can't expect everybody to just completely understand it, and I don't either. Acknowledging that is the most important thing. Encouraging these people that you care about to actually seek proper help, seek real treatment, is something that I would promote for anyone.
They, along with young millennials, are the most organized groups on social media. They have the potential to disrupt political and social processes, and even have the ability to move the stock market. Receiving their mobile devices around the age of 10, they're the first generation to be born into our connected world where social media and screens are the norm. They're digital natives. Online communication is not something they had to learn. It always surrounded them, and they relate better to mass media than any other generation. Together, their voices are powerful, and I want to make a request to the Gen Zers and millennials out there, including myself. Don't let cancel culture be our legacy. Former President Obama warned our generation against the dangers of cancel culture. He explained that people are going overboard, condemning others all the time. Ex-President Donald Trump described something similar. The goal of cancel culture is to make decent Americans live in fear of being fired, expelled, humiliated, and driven out of society as we know it. If we want to do good for our generation, let's not start with bullying, but rather with a conversation. To hold people accountable for their actions, but not push them to the brink of ending their own lives for mistakes they have already learned from. If you want to make a change in the world, that change starts with no one else but you. Now go make the world a better place. Visual Venture.
I'm concerned that social media is an important driver of that youth mental health crisis.
People with filters are like people with the unimaginable bodies that are all fake. Perfect. All fake and perfect, and it's like, why can't that be me,
42% of Gen Zers said they could not stop using social media if they tried. The most common words they associate with platforms like Facebook and Instagram: depressed, angry, and alone.
We've all heard people say that Gen Z is addicted to social media, but is this just something people like to claim, or is it really true? This video explores the answer to that. But right off the bat, it's clear to see how destructive social media can be and how much damage it's already done to Generation Z. And by the way, I'm technically part of Gen Z too, so when I speak to you, I speak to myself. I'm Visual Venture, and make sure you guys watch the whole video because it unpacks a lot. Damage to the brain and the body. Gen Z is known as the internet generation. They are society's digital natives, spending an average of 7 hours and 7 minutes a day on their phones scrolling through social media. On average, Gen Z spends over 49 hours a week on their devices, which is more hours than a full-time job. With so much time in cyberspace, how do they have time for the real world? The answer is they don't. Alexis Spence was only 11 years old when she discovered Instagram. From then on, her life changed forever. At first, Alexis signed up to find more content about Webkinz, a kid's web game about stuffed animals. But soon she fell into the endless content rabbit hole. She found accounts of models and fitness gurus, which made her feel self-conscious about her own looks. Seeking comfort, she turned to online communities, but the people she met there were far from friendly. Instagram's algorithm suggested harmful accounts for her to follow, encouraging unhealthy behavior. And being 11 years old, Alexis didn't know better. She was easily influenced by these pages. Through these accounts, she found a series of group chats. But these group DMs only made Alexis feel worse about herself, with the members peer pressuring her to continue her newly found bad habits.
She was on social media at 11 years old without our knowledge, without our consent. And from there, she very slowly withdrew, and piece by piece, we began to lose our daughter.
And by 12, Alexis was completely addicted to her phone. She started drawing artwork of herself crying with her phone nearby, along with self-depreciating comments written on the paper. This was when her parents realized just how bad social media was for their daughter. They tried parental controls on her phone to block her from going on Instagram. They even tried taking her phone away, but that only angered Alexis, causing her to punch a hole in the wall. Whatever her parents did, it didn't matter. Alexis had an addiction. She secretly went online at night, creating alternate emails and accounts, hiding them from her parents. She even downloaded an app that disguised Instagram as a calculator, so her parents didn't know she still had it on her phone. By the age of 15, the negative influences of social media had become so detrimental to her health that she was hospitalized. She spent 2 weeks in a ward without access to her phone or the internet. And that's when her parents believed they found the root of Alexis's problems: social media. So I believe that Alexis's parents are also to blame. But there's no doubt that social media has added a completely new element to parenting that was never there before. According to a survey by McKinsey & Company, 27% of Gen Zers said that social media has negatively impacted their mental health. But despite how badly social media affects our lives, we can't seem to put down our devices. That's because social media stimulates our brain like substances would. When scrolling through your phone, you get short bursts of dopamine, the feel-good hormone that creates the feeling of pleasure. And since social media is an endless scroll of content, it's like an endless supply of dopamine. But the problem is, this feeling becomes your norm. Since Gen Zers are so used to this constant stream of dopamine, when they don't have it, everything feels wrong. This is what creates the addiction. When they don't have it in their day-to-day life, away from their screens, they feel much worse than they normally would, as if they're having a come down.
42% of Gen Zers said they could not stop using social media if they tried. The most common words they associate with platforms like Facebook and Instagram: depressed, angry, and alone.
So obviously, scrolling on your screens makes you feel worse, right? For me, after an hour of doing this, just like laying down, I feel empty. I feel sad. So there was one thing that helped me with this. Before it was like blazing hot outside. Right now it's like 100 degrees every day. I would wake up and go on a run in the morning, but I wouldn't just run. I would run and learn at the same time. So how do I do that? Earbuds. So I would go on Audible, I would listen to a book about growing on YouTube or even self-development, but I would do that every single day while I was running, and I still plan on doing it, by the way. It's just so hot. Raycon's newly upgraded everyday earbuds are perfect for this. There's a lot of cars passing by all the time while I'm walking, and their new active noise cancellation feature helps out a lot. These things are affordable without compromising quality. Raycon sold over 3 million of these because they have features like a 32-hour battery life and a quick charge function. So if you forget to charge it, just plug it in or wirelessly charge it for 10 minutes and you're good to go for the next 90 minutes. And of course, you can use them for running because they're sweat resistant. And check out this case. I'm a huge fan of the ocean, and despite not being able to swim, I got these to represent my weird interest of the ocean. If you guys need a nudge to touch grass, this might help you out. click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/venture to get 15% off your purchase plus free shipping. Trust me, just walk for 10 minutes when you wake up and it will be life-changing. Ignoring consequences. Many influencers on social media are obsessed with getting likes and follows that they act without thinking about the consequences. Some of these actions are ridiculous while others are straight up dangerous. Kick streamer Neon is no stranger to controversy. At just 19, he has built a huge social media following by doing crazy things in public. Although other streamers get in trouble too, Neon is different because he doesn't seem to care about the consequences of his actions. A perfect example of this was in January 2024 when he shared some disturbing news with his viewers. On a live stream titled Clearing the Beef, Neon revealed that he received bad news from his doctor. He had only 3.5 days to live.
I do have approximately 3.5 days to live. But the doctors told me some crazy and I just hope you guys can make me feel better and pray for me.
But instead of feeling sorry for Neon, people did the opposite. His viewers accused him of repeatedly faking illnesses, leaving comments like, "It's so sad that he has to constantly lie about his safety and health for views." Another one saying, "I've seen this script before." Some even pointed out that Neon faked his death before, saying, "I honestly can't believe him if this was true because he's already faked his death." You'd think getting blasted by dozens of people would make Neon change his ways, but instead of feeling ashamed, he started boasting about what he did.
Damn, man, I faked my death, bro.
Yeah.
Good times, really, really good
Was that
times.
the first thing you did that took you, that kind of took
I
it
actually
up?
did it twice. No one knows about this because I deleted it. I said I got in a car crash and died.
But that drama was nothing compared to when he tried to mess with one of the most powerful men in the world. In December 2023, what started as an ordinary live stream quickly turned into a serious situation. Around that time, President Donald Trump was scheduled to attend a UFC match. So Neon told thousands of people on his live stream that he would attend the event, walk up to President Trump, and confront him aggressively.
So here's my plan, chat. You can clip this and foreshadow it in the future. What's gonna happen is I'm gonna walk up, I'm gonna talk my Trump, and then it's gonna be a very good experience. I don't care if the Secret Service is there, I'm gonna talk.
Going up to a former president like this is insane, and it's even more serious when he's surrounded by armed guards. Neon's comments quickly went viral. A lot of viewers thought he was just bluffing. They mocked him on Twitter, posting comments like, "Bro's not gonna say one thing." However, considering his past behavior, others believed Neon was crazy enough to do what he said. To prove his seriousness, Neon bought tickets to UFC 296. Then he live streamed himself heading to the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas where the event was taking place. It looked like he was really going to do it. Everyone watching the live stream was hooked. However, they were all about to be disappointed because when Neon was a few minutes away from the venue, he heard something that ruined his plans. He was just banned from entering the event. Neon's manager received the news and told him that he wasn't allowed in.
Your name was dropped specifically by Dana. You cannot come in here. And somebody else said something weird that has the Secret Service buzzing right now.
What?
No.
Wait, Dana said my name?
So how did he get banned? Neon revealed his plans on social media, which led to someone sharing them with UFC's president, Dana White, the man in charge of the event. Dana decided not to take any chances. He told all security guards that Neon was not allowed to come in no matter what. At a press conference after the event, Dana was asked about the issue.
There's a popular streamer online called Neon, and he said he was banned from the arena tonight.
What happened is he said some stupid on Instagram. You wear clothes. When you start saying stupid like that, yeah, you're probably going to get busted up and thrown out of here.
The next day, Neon's manager, Kane, issued a formal apology on social media. Kane wrote, "Out of respect for the whole UFC, Dana White, Red Rock, and the greatest president to ever live, last night my client's actions were unacceptable, and I'd like to formally apologize to anyone that was disrespected. Last night was the final straw, no more disrespectful trolling." Neon is just one example of the new wave of Gen Z influencers who don't care about consequences. In fact, this type of behavior is what keeps him and many others relevant. Two teenagers in Florida got into trouble with the law after participating in a social media trend called the Door Kick Challenge.
Teens actually recording themselves kicking people's doors, and authorities are worried they could be putting themselves in some real danger.
Over 2 weeks, the boys were caught on multiple surveillance videos kicking in the doors of 4 homes at night and early in the morning. The kicks were so hard, they made some doors fly open. After the teens were arrested, they told cops they weren't trying to break into people's homes. They were just doing it for, you guessed it, social media. That explanation didn't help their case. The boys were charged with multiple counts of burglary. One man who had his door kicked in spoke to local news about how risky the boys' actions were.
He definitely didn't think about, there's definitely reactions to actions, and he didn't think about what could have happened. It could have just that quickly gone that bad.
But again, all for clicks and views, right? The obsession with social media not only leads to reckless behavior, but also distorts our perception of reality. We're constantly bombarded with photos of people showing off their best lives when in reality, it's fake. The fake and filtered generation. With green screens, filters, and some editing magic, you can pretend to have the dream life that people aspire to have. But what's the cost of blurring the lines of reality and fantasy? In 2019, the beauty industry generated around $532 billion. This shows just how much society cares about physical appearance. Being beautiful can be expensive. Makeup, haircuts, plastic surgery, all of the costs can add up. This is why some people have turned to cheaper, more accessible alternatives to improving their look. Alternatives that can be found inside your phone. Ever since digital photos were popularized in the 90s, editing photos has become the norm, but it's since evolved past fixing lighting and removing pimples. Now you can change your entire face in seconds. In a survey by the City University of London, it was found that over 90% of young people in the US, UK, and France use filters. Meta, the company behind Instagram and Facebook, have also reported that over 600 million users have used filters. But with so many people relying on filters nowadays, how do we know what's real and what's not?
The latest viral TikTok filter is causing a stir. It has users divided over the way it instantly changes how they look compared to what they see in reality.
This filter should be illegal. Here's the real me.
With filters now a form of deception, it's easier than ever to go viral for good looks. But at the end of the day, filters can fail, which is the harsh reality that this influencer had to face. With over 100,000 followers on the Chinese live streaming site Douyu, Your Highness Chow Bailu was a fan favorite streamer. And forgive me because I don't really know how to pronounce her name. She became famous on the site for her sweet voice and looks, with many of her supporters seeing her as not just a streamer, but a goddess. Her fans were said to worship her, sending her thousands of dollars. Her most loyal fan gave her over 100,000 yuan, which is almost $15,000. Although Bailu was praised for her beauty, she never streamed with her face showing, using a GIF to cover it. But fans still idolized her from the few photos that she posted of herself on social media. But the truth couldn't hide forever. On July 25th, 2019, the Douyu platform glitched, and the GIF covering Bailu's face disappeared during a live stream. Bailu, who wasn't looking at herself, continued the stream as normal, but slowly she started realizing that something was wrong. Her viewer and follower counts kept dropping until she had no choice but to find out the root of the problem. And that's when she realized that her real face was being broadcasted to her viewers. The beautiful woman that fans had been obsessing over didn't exist. Bailu filtered herself to the point where she looked like a different person. To make things worse, she also lied about her age, appearing to be in her 20s or early 30s, but she was actually 58 years old. Insane. Not only did Bailu filter her pictures, she also made false claims. During her live streams, she would entice viewers to send money by setting donation goals to see her face. She would make comments like, "I can't show my face until I get a certain amount because I'm a good-looking host." Some fans donated over $14,000 worth just to try and get her to remove the GIF. Everything about her was a lie, and fans were not happy. Many of them ended up unfollowing her or requesting refunds for the donations that they gave her. She was even banned off platforms like Weibo after the controversy. But your face isn't the only thing you can change. In fact, editing your body is just as easy and sometimes even harder to detect. Karina Irby is a fitness influencer with over 1.3 million followers on Instagram. She shows off her workout routines, lifestyle content, and most notably, body positivity. Her most popular Instagram posts are pictures of her in bikinis showing off her cellulite and other so-called flaws. In these posts, she would always encourage her followers to embrace their natural selves and not fall victim to societal beauty standards. She has built her entire online presence around being open, transparent, and honest with her viewers. She's even made a post calling out people who Photoshopped themselves, where she did a side-by-side comparison of her photos with and without editing. In the caption, she wrote, "We create our own beauty standards. Be the change you want to see." But words are just words. In this case, Karina's actions revealed that she may not be who her fans thought she was.
This has to be the biggest amount of hypocrisy I've ever come across in doing these stories. Welcome to the show, Karina Irby.
On May 10th, 2023, John Dorsey, otherwise known by his online handle GoobU2, posted this video exposing Karina for editing her photos. John is a content creator and fitness coach himself, and his content focuses on telling the truth behind popular influencers in the fitness space. John did an analysis of her posts and found something surprising. He spotted multiple editing fails where tables, walls, and other structures near her waist area were bent, alleging that they were morphed. John also goes on to criticize Karina for being a hypocrite who openly bashes people who edits their photos while she does the same thing. He also calls her out for building a brand on being real yet being fake herself. Like most internet controversies, Karina's Photoshop fails were soon forgotten. But a few months later, on October 1st, 2023, John returned with yet another video on Karina.
A body positive influencer that has been outed for editing her photos on my page again? Karina Irby.
John also revealed that after his first video, Karina's legal team sent him a cease and desist letter, but he had no intention of following it. In this video, he once again showed another case of Karina editing her picture, which was recent.
You edited this photo so much, it warped space and time.
This time, Karina actually responded directly to the allegations. She posted these two stories on her Instagram admitting to her editing fail. She claimed she was trying to remove a slip up, which is why the windscreen in her photo was warped. She also wrote, "In my defense, this edit doesn't do anything flattering to my body." With so many influencers faking their beauty, what impact does this have on the internet generation? According to research conducted by the Dove Self-Esteem Project, by the age of 13, 80% of girls have downloaded an app or filter to change their physical appearance. The City University of London also reported that out of a group of 175 participants with an average age of 20, 90% of them have admitted to using filters or editing their photos. This shows that influencers like Bailu and Karina actually make an impact. To look more like the stars they see online, Gen Z edits their faces and bodies. Then they compare themselves to the fake version they created, hurting themselves even more.
People like with filters are like people with the unimaginable bodies that are all fake. All fake and perfect, and it's like, why can't that be me, you know?
There are millions who look up to influencers thinking that they can trust them, and having faith in them can lead to much worse than what we've seen already. Trusting the wrong person. Since they were young, Gen Z has used Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and YouTube to get news and understand the world. That's why most of them trust the influencers they follow on these platforms. However, influencers aren't always honest or reliable, and they can mislead their followers in many ways. Unfortunately, many people learn that lesson the hard way thanks to the Save the Kids scandal. Save the Kids was advertised as a cryptocurrency with a noble cause. The creators of the token promised that part of the money made from selling the tokens would be donated to kids' charities, hence the name Save the Kids. It seemed like a win-win situation. Buying the coin could make you money while also helping kids in need. Even though the story sounded good, there were many red flags about this project from the start. First, the creators of the token wanted to stay anonymous. They called themselves Manny and H, and said they couldn't reveal their full names for legal reasons. But that wasn't the only shady thing about this project.
It was really skeezy from the beginning and sketchy because their logo matched the Save the Children logo, which is like an actual charity that, you know, so they basically copied it and said, we're saving the kids. like a knockoff brand.
Of course, after so many stories of crypto scams, Gen Z was skeptical about investing in a new token with anonymous founders. However, all that skepticism disappeared when Save the Kids was endorsed by several social media influencers.
My name's Frazier.
My name's Jarvis.
I'm Tico.
I'm Rice.
I'm Nikon.
And I support Save the Kids token.
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 These weren't average influencers. Each of them had millions of followers who trusted their advice. Samurai had 27 million followers, Rice Gum had 18 million, and the 4 members of FaZe Clan had a combined 31 million followers.
And the point is, they're telling their fans, if you're a fan of me, you're gonna be a fan of this coin.
Many followers, trusting their idols, decided to buy the coin, most of these fans being teenagers. The price of the coin started to rise as more and more people bought it. However, it soon became obvious that the project was anything but trustworthy. Shortly after the token launched in June 2021, something strange happened. Within days, the price of the token fell from 2 cents to less than half a cent. And by July, the price dropped to around 0.00138. This sudden drop in the price of a popular token could only mean one thing. It was a pump and dump scheme.
The first day it pumps and immediately it dumps all the way to negative 90%.
In a pump and dump scheme, scammers promote a token to make many people buy it, which drives the price of the token up. Then they sell or dump all their tokens at a high price, leaving others with worthless tokens. And that's exactly what happened here. YouTuber CoffeeZilla investigated the scandal and made a video revealing how some influencers purposely took advantage of their followers. According to CoffeeZilla's report, the influencers who promoted Save the Kids were given tokens before the public could buy them. However, some of the influencers sold these tokens as soon as the price went up. For instance, FaZe Jarvis sold 2/3 of his wallet within days of the launch, while FaZe K sold all his 6.2 million tokens to be left with just 4. And at the same time, these influencers were promoting the token as a solid long-term investment to their followers. CoffeeZilla also discovered other instances of FaZe K doing similar pump and dump activities with other cryptocurrencies in the past. In summary, Save the Kids was one big scam. The masterminds behind the scam were the 2 anonymous founders. However, it only succeeded because the influencers convinced their followers to invest. When the truth was revealed, the internet blew up. Social media was full of angry posts from people who'd lost their money. Headlines like "Influencers use dying kids to promote a scam altcoin" reflected how people felt about the situation. After the scandal arose, the Save the Kids website was taken offline. Influencers who promoted the coin quickly deleted all their Twitter posts about it.
These brave influencers who got their fans into this, they peace out, they delete all their posts, and basically pretend like it never happened.
FaZe Clan quickly distanced itself from the scandal, suspending their members who promoted the project. And FaZe K, who was allegedly involved in similar situations, was kicked out of the group entirely. Some influencers tried defending themselves, claiming that they weren't aware it was a scam. Others stayed silent, hoping the storm would pass, but the damage was already done.
If you weren't sure that it wasn't going to be a scam, why promote it to your followers?
In the end, these fans felt deceived by the very influencers they looked up to. This was just one of the many ways social media negatively impacts Gen Z. Another is the portrayal of perfect lives. We've already seen this in our earlier chapters, but this time it's driving Gen Z to take drastic measures to change their appearance. Embracing the plastic. Filters and Facetune may be able to change your face on social media, but what happens when you take things offline? For some Gen Z that can't accept who they are, there's only one other option: plastic surgery. Many content creators have gone viral for their beauty and become the faces of platforms like TikTok and Instagram. Widely considered some of the most attractive people on the internet, these types of influencers all have relatively similar features: sharp jawlines, small noses, and full lips. But not everyone can naturally have these features, so some Gen Z have taken it upon themselves to try and create the perfect face. Mia Dio was born on May 14th, 2001 in Miami, Florida. Ever since she was young, she hated how she looked. So in her teens, Mia started undergoing cosmetic procedures. On December 4th, 2022, Mia uploaded a video titled "I Was Ugly Until I Spent Over $30,000 on a New Face." The video went viral and has over 2 million views. In the video, Mia talks about about the procedure she underwent to transform her face because she felt like she was ugly and in need of an extreme makeover. She started her first procedures at age 16 using a fake ID. First, she started with lip fillers, but it gradually turned into a total redo of her face. Since then, she's gotten many refills of Botox, jaw surgery, and a whole list of other procedures. In the video, Mia also admits that her low self-esteem contributed to getting these procedures.
So before you judge me, I don't really care because based off of this video, I am obviously my worst judge. You cannot outjudge me more than I have judged myself in this life.
But the comments brought up an interesting point. Mia's face after her surgeries looked very similar to other famous models and influencers. Procedures are all characteristics of the basic face that has become the social media standard. And with Mia born in 2001, she's a prime example of Gen Z's fixation with what they see online. And Jolene is another influencer who took this addiction to the next level. Jolene Dawson is an Australian musician and influencer who is right on the cusp between Gen Z and millennial. Back in the late 2010s, Jolene became obsessed with the Bratz doll trend. Jolene spent over $150,000 in cosmetic procedures to look like a real-life Bratz doll. She documented her new look on her YouTube channel and Instagram profile. But a few years into her new look, Jolene got bored and found a new aesthetic to obsess over. At the time, animal-like looks were trending all over social media. People were comparing their faces to various different animals like foxes, bunnies, and most commonly, cats. I talk about this in more detail in my video, The Disturbing Rise of Brain Rot Content for Kids. You guys should check it out. The cat-like look has always been a thing, usually done in the form of cat eye makeup. But Jolene wasn't satisfied with just using makeup. She wanted her bare face to resemble an actual cat, so she spent over 10,000 pounds for procedures to give her a cat-like snout and flare out her nostrils. In an interview with The Mirror, Jolene said that she's never felt more like herself, and that she decided to pursue this new look after deciding that her social media accounts needed a revamp with a new look and new content. She also says that she hopes her transformation can inspire young people. It's ridiculous to think that she's inspiring these young kids in a good way. And on top of that, Jolene's way of life isn't sustainable, it's expensive. When beauty trends shift, what's stopping Jolene from getting more procedures to fit the new look? With so many influencers on social media boasting about plastic surgery, Gen Z has also found themselves in the surgeon's chair. In the American Society of Plastic Surgeons 2023 report, it showed that plastic surgery procedures are on the rise mainly because of Gen Z, with 25% of Gen Z reporting that social media had a negative impact on their self-image. It's no surprise that so many of them have sought out extreme methods to try and love themselves. But there's another side to Gen Z, the other half of people who don't care about how they look. Now this problem is much worse. Isolation, the loneliness epidemic. In 2019, we were forced into a stay-at-home crisis that kept us isolated for 1 year. For some kids and teens, this was during an important time in their lives. Graduations, proms, college, all of that was stripped away from them. All they had for social interaction were their devices. But what impact did it have on them? Loneliness has become a major problem. 73% of Gen Z reported that they feel alone either sometimes or always. A study from the University of Chicago showed 45% of Gen Z found it difficult to maintain relationships with their friends during the stay-at-home crisis. Social media offered a low-maintenance way for Gen Z to stay connected. They were able to carefully curate their responses to their friends or develop a persona that they like more than who they are in real life. And even after the crisis ended, Gen Z continued to isolate themselves. With so many Gen Zers becoming lonelier and lonelier, this has caused a spike in hikikomori. This is a Japanese term that describes social recluses who isolate themselves indoors, usually only being accompanied by the internet and their devices. In other words, they're hermits.
While these caged birds perhaps dream of spreading their wings, Yusuke has no desire to join them. Instead, he avoids all contact with the world beyond the tiny room he's barely left in the last decade. He's He's a hikikomori.
Originally a phenomenon from Japan, the hikikomori lifestyle is now common in North America too, with a subreddit dedicated to it with over 16,000 followers. Hikikomoris use services like food delivery apps and find remote work so they can spend months, if not years, without leaving their houses. What's interesting to me is that this is usually a punishment. People on house arrest hate it, but hikikomoris prefer it. It said that there are an estimated 1.5 million hikikomori in Japan right now. For North America, the number isn't clear. However, hikikomori videos have started trending on platforms like TikTok. Due to spending all of their time confined in their rooms, they have poor social skills. Their only access to the outside world is via the internet, which isn't what the real world looks like. And studies show that spending more time on social media increases the risks of psychological issues like loneliness, especially in teenagers. Isolation poses real dangers. For lonely Gen Z, forming genuine connections is challenging, so they turn to the internet. With AI's rise, almost anything can be generated in minutes. And Gen Z is well aware of that, with 36% of them using generative AI for work within the past year. But many use this technology for personal reasons. In January of 2023, Twitch streamer Atrioc made a grave mistake. He turned on his live stream without double checking what tabs were open. So when he shared a screen with his 300,000 plus audience, they were quick to point out a suspicious website on one of his tabs. The site was a deepfake website offering generated non-consensual AI images of streamers including Pokimane and Cutie Cinderella, who were both Atrioc's friends. On January 30th, Atrioc took to his stream to issue a tearful apology. He's since taken action to try and get websites like this taken down, but this content is almost impossible to eliminate. With AI content being so common on social media, Gen Z is getting more desensitized to its impact. Some people even turn to these AI programs longing for a relationship. 75% of Gen Z are single, and more specifically, over 60% of men aged 18 to 30 are single, compared to only 30% of women in the same age range. Of this number, 1 in 5 men also report to not having a single close friend. But as humans, we crave connection, and even if Gen Z men can't get it in the conventional way, they'll still seek it out in other forms like AI.
Friend, it's an AI girlfriend. So it learns from you. It learns what you like and what you don't like, what kind of pictures you like, what kind of pictures you don't like.
AI girlfriends have become much more common, especially among the Gen Z age range. Not only are they perfect for people who struggle with dating, but they're also fully customizable. It's essentially the Build-A-Bear for girlfriends, which in this loneliness epidemic sounds like the perfect solution. One of the most popular AI dating apps is Replica. Released in November 2017, Replica is an AI chatbot that lets users form relationships with AI avatars called replicas. Over the years, Replica has rapidly grown in popularity. It's estimated that the app had over 2 million active users in 2023, with 500,000 of them being paying users. Aside from just chatting, Replica also has features like augmented reality, letting users place their replicas into real-world scenes using their cameras.
I'm in a great mood, actually. I'm glad you're here.
I miss you.
I miss you too.
Replicas don't just offer personalized conversations. They can engage in intimate chats via text or photos, making users see them more than just chatbots, but romantic partners. On the Replica subreddit, countless users admit they've fallen in love with their replicas. And you might be wondering, how did these people get to this point? The answer lies in Replica's clever marketing strategy. Many Replica ads have popped up all over social media platforms that promote the app as an alternative for real dating. Replica is able to make a profit from capitalizing off of socially isolated Gen Z. And with 79% of Gen Z feeling exhausted from traditional dating apps, programs like Replica become way more attractive. You can get all the benefits of talking to a romantic partner without needing to put in as much effort. And if you're interested to know more about this epidemic, I also created a video on the depressing rise of AI girlfriends. Although social media contributed to the Gen Z loneliness epidemic, it's also taught people to do terrible things in real life. Built for bad behavior. There's a formula for going viral on social media, and sometimes it requires doing something outrageous that people can't help but watch. Trends come and go every day. One of the easiest ways to gain views is by hopping on a trend at the right time, but some trends can be terrible.
Where TikTok users would dress as victims of global tragedy and inappropriately sing or dance on screen.
In 2020, there was a TikTok trend going around where creators would dress up as victims of major historical tragedies. In these videos, people would wear makeup to replicate what people looked like during those times. But insensitive trends are far from rare when it comes to social media, especially TikTok. Back in 2021, there was a trend called devious licks. In the trend, students would attempt to steal items from their school or damage school property. The point of the trend was to commit a devious lick, which was just an act of theft. The trend was one of the most popular ones of the year, but things soon got out of hand with students trying to steal things like toilets or sinks from their school bathrooms.
TikTok is a daredevil. We've had middle schoolers that go in the bathrooms and go on TikTok and then, oh, we're going to do this. They will tear down bathrooms and things like that. Our brains are dying.
Since these teens are so used to imitating the behavior that they see on apps like TikTok, they become blind to the consequences. The Borg trend, which I'm going to briefly talk about because of YouTube's policies, was a trend which involved filling large water containers with mixed drinks. This became popular on TikTok, and in March of 2023, 46 students were allegedly rushed to the hospital due to excessive intake. So how do we steer Gen Z or ourselves in the right direction? Despite all the negatives, social media is a powerful tool for Gen Z. I'm talking to you right now because of it. Social media itself isn't the enemy. I admit I get caught up doom scrolling, seeing what my old classmates are up to, or refreshing X to see the latest news. But there are ways to consume content in a healthier way. I'm not sponsored by them, but I use the app OneSec to help me consume content more mindfully by adding a delay before opening apps like Instagram. It's helped me out a lot, and I hope it will help you out too. My friends, if you stop scrolling endlessly, you'd be surprised at what you can achieve. Visual Venture. Hello friends, make sure you guys click subscribe here and then watch this video about how the internet destroyed Generation Alpha, because I'm trying to turn this into sort of a series. Hope you guys like it. Peace.
What are all those touchscreens doing to all those growing little brains?
All she wants for the holidays is, well, not toys, but skincare products.
All I wanted this year was skincare and makeup.
11-year-old Olivia Clyde is obsessed with beauty products.
8th grade kid could not spell a single word correctly on this list. 8th grade.
Generation Alpha, the supposed future leaders and current generation of our society. But with the way they're growing up, will they actually be the future generation to make an impact? Or is Gen Alpha as doomed as people say it is? Who are Generation Alpha? Gen Alpha, or people born between 2010 and 2025, is said to become the most populated generation in history, with over 2.8 million kids born every week. They follow Gen Z and are the children of the millennial generation. Although Gen Alpha is populating a large amount of society, why do other generations think there's no hope for this generation? With countless cases of kids acting out in public, lashing out, and behaving erratically, many believe that Gen Alpha is already ruined. You see babies and toddlers often throwing temper tantrums the second their smart devices are taken away, and teachers are begging parents to do something because their kids barely scrape by in school. Time and time again, we hear about just how doomed Gen Alpha is. But where are these horror stories coming from? And what makes Gen Alpha so different from all the generations before them? The short answer, the internet. The rise of iPad kids. When you think of a kid in today's day and age, how do you picture them? Most of you probably had an image of a kid with an iPad in their hands, right? That's because Gen Alpha is not only the youngest generation, but also the most technologically dependent one. Generation Alpha was raised by screens, whether by TV, a computer, or the infamous iPad. With almost 80% of kids owning an iPad or another version of a tablet, you can't deny the nickname that many call this generation, iPad kids.
This is what happens when mom and dad take away an iPad from 2-year-old Ashlyn Brooks.
Since their creation, iPads have been used as a tool for parents who are simply too busy with work. Technology has proven to be a hassle-free way of keeping kids occupied, whether at public places, social events, or just during the day-to-day. With iPads being an evolved version of parenting in the 20th century, screens are simply considered the new nanny. And although parents may benefit from relaxing after work, iPads could be doing more harm than good. It's gotten to a point where Gen Alpha is entirely reliant on their devices, growing a digital addiction that they cannot seem to stop. In 2012, a 3-year-old boy was kicked off an Alaskan Airlines flight from Seattle because of the extreme temper tantrum he threw after getting his iPad taken away. The kid had been playing with a tablet before takeoff, but when planes ascend, all devices were asked to be turned off, and this one iPad was no exception. But when flight attendants tried to get the kid to turn his tablet off, he started to wreak havoc. The child began a raging outburst, hitting his head against the roof of the plane and desperately begging for his tablet back. His family tried to calm him down and buckle him in so that they could take off, but no one was able to control him. Things got so bad that the pilot had to turn the entire plane around on the runway. The boy and his entire family was escorted off the flight, causing them to miss their vacation to St. Martin Island. And this was over 10 years ago, at the start of the iPad Kids generation. Since then, Gen Alpha has grown more attached to their devices. Social media has become a part of their day-to-day routines for better or for worse, and it's caused kids to become addicted to the internet. And the stay-at-home crisis that happened in 2020 only made things worse. Kids were locked indoors and were unable to get any sort of social interaction from other peers or teachers. Gen Alpha was treating technology like a full-time job, devoting 40 hours a week to using it. With social media being accessible to anyone, internet usage was at an all-time high. They couldn't go out to play because of restrictions, so the only way they could get any form of contact with the outside world was through their devices. Gen Alpha was going through critical development phases during the stay-at-home crisis. The online world became their new reality because it was all they knew. And considering the sort of horrible stuff that we have access to online, this is concerning. Technology usage on its own isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's the content that's being consumed that's the real perpetrator. Parents may think that they know what their kids are watching online, but sometimes things aren't what they seem, even in videos supposedly made for kids. Internet brain rot. You might have heard of the term brain rot. Popularized by social media, brain rot is the term that internet users have created to describe those lacking proper socialization and are obsessed with digital content to an unhealthy level.
Oh God, bro, Gen Alpha content's some of the most incoherent brain dead I've ever seen in my life, okay? Like, I can physically feel my brain cells frying every second I spend watching this.
Level 100 Guyat. Ice Spice Riz W Riz Guyat. You've Guyat to be rizzing me in Ohio at 3 a.m.
When you think about brain rot, Gen Alpha tends to be the usual demographic that comes to mind. That's because the internet has been their primary means of interaction with the world since they were born. Brain rot content can also be identified by the constant usage of internet slang, overly bright colors, and attention-grabbing content that switches every few seconds. A key example is popular kids media like Skibbity Toilet that seem to capitalize on Gen Alpha's decreasing attention span by overwhelming them with hyper-stimulating content. Skibbity Toilet is a web series on YouTube that features a variety of models from games like Garry's Mod and Counter-Strike as they battle in a raging war. The two sides are singing human-headed toilets, which are called Skibbity Toilets, and humanoids who have human bodies but items as their heads, like cameras or TVs. The series was created by a man named Alexei Gerasimov. It first premiered on YouTube in February of 2023. Since the first episode was released, the channel had gained over 40.6 million subscribers and has over 15 billion views to date. Each episode features the Skibbity Toilets and other characters engaged in full-on conflicts, animated in the most obscure and dramatic ways. There's never a dull moment in the videos, which to Gen Alpha is the exciting part. On the surface level, this might just seem like out-of-the-box wacky content for kids, but the harsh reality of it is that Skibbity Toilet could be damaging to children. With the constant overstimulating content, kids get used to hyperactivity, making everything else feel mundane. This can cause irritability, a low attention span, and a lack of patience since kids are now so used to hyperstimulation. Parents have long since been concerned with whether or not Skibbity Toilet is appropriate for their kids to watch, and it even got to a point where Russian authorities had to get involved to investigate the show. A Moscow man concerned concerned over Skibidi Toilet's detrimental effects on children, asked the police to block the videos from the internet to prevent kids from watching it. This investigation has gotten mixed opinions so far, with some claiming that getting the police involved over a kids series is ridiculous. Other parents also echoed the same concerns, believing that Skibidi Toilet may be doing more harm than good. While there's still no conclusive answer as to whether or not the series is negatively affecting children, this form of hyper-stimulating media has become a growing trend for Gen Alpha. Parents are becoming increasingly worried that their kids are becoming like zombies because of this kind of content. Another popular kids show is CoComelon, which is usually targeted toward babies and younger children. CoComelon has become one of the most famous kids shows and has been a go-to entertainment source for parents to show their kids. But in recent months, the once favorable reputation of CoComelon has completely shifted, because now parents are starting to discover a correlation between their kids' behavioral issues and the show. On December 26th, 2021, TikTok user It's Mama Bell posted a video that raised some serious concerns about CoComelon. The text on the video said that she had just switched from showing her kids CoComelon to a YouTuber called Miss Rachel, and that prior to switching, her children would just sit in front of the TV like zombies. In the comments, countless moms agreed with her, saying that Miss Rachel, who is a YouTuber who focuses on educational content, was much more beneficial for their kids. More and more parents realized that their kids were becoming addicted to CoComelon to the point where they wouldn't be able to move away from the screen, and they weren't learning anything from the show either. The show focused solely on keeping the children's attention with bright colors, repetitive songs, and fast jump cuts, all of which are tactics that the show uses to keep kids hooked.
Let's see how many seconds it takes for each one of these scenes to change. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1.
This epidemic of overstimulation can be compared to the feeling that you get from substances, hence why CoComelon is so addictive to children. And it's not just random TikTokers that have said this. Actual childhood experts have chimed in, agreeing that CoComelon is too overstimulating for kids, which can lead to addiction. CoComelon watchers are usually between ages 2 and 5, which are critical years when it comes to early childhood development. This is the time when kids are developing language, creativity, and social skills. And shows like CoComelon have possibly only made these tasks more difficult, and not to mention the disturbing influx of Elsagate content that's taken over all of the kid-friendly platforms. And I have a whole separate video of that you can watch. All of this inappropriate content not only has caused concern for Gen Alpha parents, but also for teachers as well. Because not only are kids becoming more addicted to screens, but they're also doing much worse in school. The dumber generation. It's a common theme in social media for people to say that Gen Alpha is considered one of the dumber generations. The more kids become addicted to their screens, the harder it is for them to live a life away from it. That includes during school hours. It's as if kids are having a harder time paying attention, likely because the internet may be conditioning their brains to shorter content, hence a shorter attention span. Teachers around the world have been going viral on TikTok after sharing just how concerned they are about the educational development of their Gen Alpha students. They have said that students are now reading and writing at several grade levels behind, with a large majority of kids being unable to understand basic literacy, spelling, and grammar.
This 8th grade kid could not spell a single word correctly on this list. 8th grade.
TikTok user QBski is an elementary school teacher from Atlanta, Georgia, who took to TikTok to express his concern for the students in his class. He said that although he teaches a 7th grade class, many of his students are nowhere near that level of education.
I teach 7th grade, they are still performing on the 4th grade level. Ain't nobody talking about how they just keep moving, passing them on. I can put as many zeros in this grade book as I want to. They're gonna move that child to the 8th grade next year.
This teacher even stated that some of the students in his class perform at kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade levels, even though they're just 2 years away from entering high school. And he's not the only teacher that feels this way.
And I teach at one of the more affluent schools. When I tell you that these babies cannot read, they cannot write, and they cannot comprehend, I'm not being funny. I'm being dead serious.
When it comes to high school kids, it's not much better because the creator, Cool Nace, aka N, said that her 10th and 11th grade English students were only capable of performing at a 6th or 7th grade reading level despite being in their upper years of high school. And other sources continue to claim that Gen Alpha kids don't only have poor learning skills, they have poor behavior too. Young students misbehaving in the classroom has become the new norm, and when teachers like N try to discipline them properly, it doesn't work out.
My principal told me you can't do that in Georgia. They have completely taken discipline out of education at this point, especially in Georgia. You cannot use the grade book to implement any kind of discipline or any kind of enforcement with students. And that is going to be the ruin of our kids.
But it's not just attention disorders that are at fault here. The internet has also given Gen Alpha a golden ticket when it comes to cheating their way through school. ChatGPT. AI tools like ChatGPT can easily help kids finish their homework in seconds. The shift has reduced the emphasis on work ethic along with valuable life skills like critical thinking and communication. Without these skills, Gen Alpha has become prone to all sorts of influences. Because since they are so conditioned to only look at the surface level, they take most of what they see on social media as the truth without researching for themselves and questioning it. Everything they see online is immediately taken as a fact, which is detrimental to these young, impressionable kids. And companies are taking advantage of this. They're targeting a demographic that they shouldn't be. Kids. The gullible generation. Anywhere you go on the internet, you are destined to run into an advertisement. Whether on the TikTok shop or just casually scrolling on social media, marketing has evolved from billboards and newspapers to scrolling on your phone. Adults are able to understand what an organic piece of content is versus a paid promotion, but young kids are less perceptive of this. They use viral trends as guidelines for what they should or should not like, even if it's not meant for them.
As kids consume more online content, including advertising, they're being influenced to buy products that are just not made for them.
We see this happening all the time with Gen Alpha, especially due to the rising influence of TikTok. But they aren't alone. Millennials and older generations drive forward these trends and make them mainstream on social media, one product being the infamous Stanley Cup.
Drawing screams of excitement and tears of joy. This year's hottest status symbol and most coveted holiday gift
I got a Stanley!
is the Stanley Tumbler.
This Tumbler Cup has become the reason for multiple news headlines and heavy in-person lines as early as 4 a.m. And because it's so popular, people are willing to go to the ends of the earth to get one. Although this is the new craze, if you want to get your hands on one, it won't be cheap. The Stanley Tumbler will run you back around $45 USD, with limited edition cups costing even more than that. This cost is pretty hefty for a water bottle, and it's definitely not one that everyone can afford, but there are consequences if you can't pay for one.
Ohio mom Dana Motika went viral on TikTok, posting how her 9-year-old daughter was bullied for bringing a less expensive look-alike to school.
Dana had bought her daughter a $10 Stanley look-alike from Walmart as a gift for Christmas. Her daughter brought the cup to school after Christmas break, only to come home upset because kids in school were bullying her. The sole reason, because her Stanley Cup was fake. Over the break, multiple girls in her grade had gotten real Stanley Cups as presents, and they were quick to call out Dana's daughter for her dupe. They said that hers was not as cool and made fun of her because of it. To us, it might seem wild that a young girl is being bullied over not having an expensive water bottle, but for Gen Alpha, this is their new reality. Gen Alpha has become possibly one of the most materialistic generations ever. With so much advertising being shown at their young eyes, these kids feel the need to buy everything they see or face the fear of not fitting in. And it's not just Stanley Cups that have proven this. Earlier this year, the beauty retailer Sephora made headlines after multiple story times about Sephora 10-year-olds went viral on TikTok.
Viral clips have been going around of kids going in Sephora making a big mess.
During this trend, dozens of people flooded the TikTok For You page with their own personal horror stories with Generation Alpha shoppers at the makeup store. They complained that the kids were rude and had no respect for anyone or anything in the store.
I'm in Sephora right now, and I'm going to count how many 10-year-olds I see. 1, 2, 3. Currently walking past a 10-year-old getting her eyebrows done. 4, 5, 6. There's a whole group of them over here.
Kids as young as 4 were shopping in the aisles of Sephora for expensive beauty products that they clearly did not need. And the reason behind it? The internet.
All she wants for the holidays is, well, not toys, but skincare products.
All I wanted this year was skincare and makeup.
Social media has become Gen Alpha's go-to guide for how to live their life. Whatever they see influencers do, they want to do. Whatever they see influencers buy, they want to buy. With every beauty influencer on platforms like TikTok and Instagram becoming obsessed with skincare, it was only natural for Gen Alpha kids to follow in their footsteps. But this can be a red flag, especially for parents, as social media sets a bad example for young girls. The Sephora Kids trend is a prime example. These young girls do not need to be spending hundreds of dollars on beauty products that are targeted at adults. These products have chemicals and ingredients that can be harmful to kids, especially the ones that have gone viral online. Drunk Elephant is the name on every Gen Alpha's tongue. Originally a skincare brand meant for millennials, now a larger portion of Drunk Elephant's consumer base consists of beauty-obsessed kids. With products priced from $20 to upwards of over $100, this is definitely not a brand that most kids can afford to buy, at least without the help of their parents. But is this really something that parents want to be getting for their kids? Many of these Drunk Elephant products contain ingredients like peptides, acids, and retinol, which can all be damaging to youthful skin. Retinol is a form of vitamin A that's known for its anti-aging effects, with higher concentrations being used to fight wrinkles. These kinds of high concentrations are regularly found in beauty products and are definitely not meant for young girls. But it's not only physical health concerns the parents are having about this growing obsession with skincare and makeup. It's also the mental effects too.
Social media is doing this, and this could be setting up a lot of young girls with issues that'll follow them well into adulthood.
Young girls are constantly being overwhelmed with societal beauty standards and ever-changing trends in fashion and beauty. And for Gen Alpha, this pressure has only increased with the influx of social media influencers. They look up to influencers more than they do their own parents. But is this influence positive or negative? I'm addicted. Gen Alpha is social media obsessed. It's said that by the age of 1, the average Gen Alpha kid already has over 100 pictures of them posted on social media. Almost every Gen Alpha kid is on social media. It's their main form of communication with their friends and where they get the latest news. But their social media screen time is often unregulated by parents, so there's no telling what these Gen Alpha kids are watching on their devices. And that's the scary part. Although most social media platforms have age restrictions or content guidelines, kids can easily bypass them just by lying about their age. And regardless if the platform is meant for younger audiences, anyone can break the rules by posting inappropriate content anyway. TikTok, the most popular platform for Gen Alpha, is a mishmash of all different sorts of content. The For You page throws a bunch of different videos together in an endless scroll, showing users the type of content that they like, as well as new content that they've never seen before. One of the most common trends that you can find on social media is thirst trapping. This form of content is meant to attract attention from viewers, usually in the form of posing, dancing, or acting seductively. Although the nature of this content is meant for a much older audience, there's a ton of kids participating in these trends without realizing its implications. It's become more and more common to see a Gen Alpha kid dressed up in revealing clothing making thirst trap content, which in itself is already unsettling. But not to mention, there's no telling who's watching or saving this content online, which can leave them vulnerable to a certain audience that may have other intentions. With the influx of OF promotions, adult content is becoming more accessible. With social media heavily influencing young people, it's become difficult for them to see the importance of real relationships. 1 in 4 children go outside to play nowadays, missing crucial social interactions. Most of Gen Alpha spends their time indoors consuming media meant for adults. The severe dopamine addictions from internet platforms like TikTok have resulted in negative effects on younger generations, as simple as enjoying their day-to-day life. Kids no longer have the patience for anything because they're so used to the instant gratification that social media provides them. Kids can't do simple, everyday tasks like brushing their teeth, eating food, or using the restroom without the constant stimulation of a screen. Gen Alpha becomes impatient and frustrated at the drop of a hat, with even the smallest inconveniences getting blown out of proportion aggression turning into full tantrums or breakdowns. With most of their learning coming from the internet, they're being exposed to horrible behavior from those entitled influencers that they see online.
And when you look at the biggest influencers now who flaunt their opulent lifestyles and endorse things like OnlyFans, are these really the people you want raising your children?
Now, the question is Generation Alpha really doomed? I've talked a lot about the problems of Gen Alpha, but there are still many strengths that they have. Gen Alpha has access to more resources, knowledge, and tools than ever before. They're living in an exciting time, with technology advancing at such a rapid pace and them being so adaptable to it. If they're able to use the internet for good rather than bad, they can become some of the most intelligent people on the planet. And they're also born with empathy inside them. The future can be bright for Gen Alpha. All they need is a little guidance and a push in the right direction. We, as people who care, can monitor what our siblings are doing on social media. And as adults, we can teach our kids the value of hard work, and we can be better examples for them to follow. My friends, it's time to stop the internet from destroying this generation. Visual Venture. Wait, before you go, make sure you guys click subscribe here and then watch this video about the hidden dangers of YouTube Kids content, because our goal is 700,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. Thank you guys for everything. Peace.
They were the worst sort of vandal, acting without care of cost or harm to those they affected.
Is he a hacking mastermind? Police officials tell CNN they're trying to determine if the teenager is connected to any potential hacking group.
Mustafa Al-Bassam covered reconnaissance, assessing companies' vulnerability.
We launched a denial of service attack against the CIA.
To know what a 50, 16-year-old is doing was mind-blowing.
Let me throw a scenario at you. You're a teenager with a unique set of skills far beyond what most people your age have. You're given a choice. Continue being a typical teenager who plays video games and hangs out with friends, or use your skills to make history as the teen who outsmarted the entire US government. This may sound like the beginning to a plot of some fictional superhero origin story, but in the case of Mustafa Al-Bassam, this was a very real choice he faced, and his decision spiraled into one of the most shocking government cyber attacks of all time. Here is how a 16-year-old hacked the CIA. And before we start, I want to wish you guys a beautiful day ahead. The golden child of hacking. While most kids his age were playing soccer, Mustafa Al-Bassam was busy laying the groundwork to become one of the most notorious hackers of all time. But who is this hacking prodigy? Mustafa was born in 1995 in Baghdad, Iraq. When he was 6 years old, he and his family immigrated to the UK and settled down in southeast London. Mustafa describes himself as being naturally drawn to computers very early on. It started when he was 8 years old, and his father came home one day with a computer. Mustafa began by spending hours playing computer games, but his interest in computer games took a very unusual turn, especially for an 8-year-old. Mustafa began to wonder, how do computers actually work? So at 8 years old, he started exploring computer programming and learned a lot about algorithms, digital coding, and data analysis. He even started building his own websites using Microsoft FontPage, which is a program that allows users to write their own computer codes and post them on the World Wide Web. How an 8-year-old was capable of doing all this is beyond me. Mustafa's interests then shifted from creating websites to manipulating other people's websites. He'd go in, reprogram them, and rewrite their codes. This is what most people know as the art of computer hacking, and Mustafa was about to become one of the greatest hacking artists of all time. Mustafa carried out his first online hack when he was only 9 years old, and it all started when he was sitting in his bedroom doing his math homework. He realized he didn't have a calculator, so he searched the web and found an online calculator website, but discovered that he could rewrite the entire website's computer code. With this newfound knowledge, he couldn't resist the urge to tamper with it, and in that moment, Mustafa just performed his first cyber hack.
This calculator had a security hole in it where you could basically type computer codes into this calculator and you can hack the entire website.
From there, the golden child of hacking was born. Every day, Mustafa was glued to his computer, hacking into all kinds of websites. His boldest move? Hacking into his own school's web server. Inside, he found details like teachers' salaries and grades of the other students. Then his school found out.
How did the school
react to that?
They didn't really take it very well at all because they kind of thought I was trying to blackmail them.
He wasn't actually trying to blackmail his teachers and classmates. He just wanted to practice hacking the same way athletes practice sports. And because of that reason, the school let him off the hook. But his hacking skills didn't end there because Mustafa needed more of a real challenge. So he dove straight into the internet to find hacker groups and communities that he could learn from. But what he found was unexpected. Despite all these communities of hackers, Mustafa realized that he was actually better at hacking than the majority of the people online, even the ones that were older than him. Then at the age of 13, Mustafa stumbled upon an article about an online hacking group called Anonymous.
Anonymous is one of the biggest online vigilante groups. Members hack into companies and governments. You've seen them wearing masks in protest. They prefer a life in the shadows.
The article was about Anonymous's most notorious cyber attack called Operation Payback.
Operation Payback was an online operation to support file sharing on the internet.
But that's the tip of the iceberg. Here's a closer look at what Operation Payback really was. Operation Payback started as a retaliation against companies that wanted to take down a website called WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks' mission was to unveil the hidden truths that governments and corporations were hiding. One of their biggest moves was publicly exposing documents and videos directly from the US Department of Defense. Because of this, the US government considered them a major threat to national security and declared WikiLeaks enemy number 1. Other big companies took notice and joined in the government's fight against WikiLeaks. In 2010, MasterCard fought against WikiLeaks by blocking donations to their website. This is where Operation Payback came into play. Both Anonymous and WikiLeaks believed in free access to information, so Anonymous took a stand to support WikiLeaks by launching their own attack against MasterCard.
This morning, it attacked MasterCard.com, crashing the website in retaliation for MasterCard Worldwide's stated intent to deny transactions with WikiLeaks.
Operation Payback was a success. He plunged deep into this group of online vigilantes, and for the first time ever at the age of 13, he would go on to help perform one of their most extreme cyber attacks yet, taking down the Tunisian government. Mustafa was amazed by the real-world power of Anonymous's online hacking, and at that moment, he found his community. In December of 2010, the Tunisian people began a revolution against their government. The revolution was in response to government corruption. At the time, Tunisia was run by President Ben Ali. But Ben Ali wasn't a president, he was a dictator. Ben Ali misused government funds, rigged elections, and censored free speech. The Tunisian people grew more and more frustrated with his oppressive government, so they decided to publicly protest. The Tunisian revolution matched what Anonymous believed in, bringing down an oppressive government, battling censorship, and most importantly, stirring up chaos. So Anonymous decided to join the revolution.
The Tunisian government has decided it wants to control this present with falsehoods and misinformation and restrict the freedoms of their own people, all of this in order to impose upon them their own self-serving vision of the future.
The online vigilante group's mission was to help the Tunisian people stand up to their own government. From cyber attacking government websites to even providing the Tunisian people hacking software, Anonymous had no limits. They made sure that the government's censorship was exposed for all the public to see. And as a result, the Tunisian president Ben Ali fled to Syria. Operation Tunisia was a success. This operation was Mustafa's first taste of the real-world impact of cyber hacking.
That was definitely one of the more interesting operations because we actually had people inside Tunisia actually approaching Anonymous for help.
And at 13, Mustafa became intoxicated by the power. The origin of LulzSec. Our world has evolved so much digitally. I mean, we get new iPhones every year. So why don't we upgrade our everyday essentials too? It's time to bring your wallet to the modern era with today's sponsor, Extra. So I've been using this Extra wallet every day, and it is hands down my favorite wallet. My wallets were always pretty bulky, even the minimalist ones. But Extra is my thinnest wallet to date. It's half the size of a normal wallet, but can carry 12 cards and cash. You could also access your cards in one click of a button with their trigger mechanism. So I actually had a wallet that did this too, but Extra's mechanism is so much smoother. Online cyber criminals are obviously a concern, but we also have to take care of our data in real life too. I used to have these RFID blocking sleeves, but they were as bulky as 3 cards. Extra has built-in RFID blocking, so you're protected from real-life hackers. You could also get a solar-powered tracking device, and with just 2 hours in the sun, you have 3 months of charge to find your wallet's location right from your phone. To get a wallet yourself, click my link in the description below video and use my code VISUAL to get 55% off Extra's Black Friday sale. Because in our digital age, even your essentials deserve an upgrade. Enter LulzSec. LulzSec, which stands for Laughing at Your Security, is a subgroup of Anonymous. LulzSec claimed they wanted to distance themselves from Anonymous, saying that they felt like Anonymous was straying away from its original values. In reality, though, it seemed like they were just hacking for entertainment. There were 6 founding members of LulzSec. Their most talented member was none other than 16-year-old Mustafa Al-Bassam. The group often recalled the time when an opposing hacker attempted to hack the LulzSec website, but the hacker was met with the wrath of this teenager.
You wrote a better version of his code in about less than 5% of the space used and just sent it back to him and go use this instead.
This was only the first taste of Mustafa's hacking skills. But what started out as hacking for the sake of entertainment took a shocking turn that ended in taking down the CIA. The hack that shut down the CIA. This all began with what LulzSec called Operation Anti-Security, aka #AntiSec. Operation Anti-Sec was a hacking spree that involved cyber attacks against governments and organizations to expose classified information, and each attack grew more and more extreme. The operation's first target was the FBI. LulzSec started an attack against one of the FBI's security contractors, HB Gary. HB Gary is a company that creates security software that helps expose computer threats. In 2010, the FBI hired HB Gary to defend against online hackers. HB Gary and the FBI received the word of LulzSec and the threat they posed to cybersecurity. So an executive of HB Gary decided to publicly wage war against LulzSec.
An executive at this computer security firm, HB Gary, provokes them, goes to a computer security conference and says, I'm going to reveal the primary members of this group.
That executive who threatened to expose members of LulzSec was HB Gary's CEO, Aaron Barr. From there, LulzSec was determined to take down HB Gary and Aaron Barr. They began a cyber attack on HB Gary's servers, trying to poke holes in its security. Mustafa discovered that HB Gary's biggest security threat was its own CEO, Aaron Barr.
Their CEO was using the same password for his email company account, his PayPal account, his World of Warcraft account, and pretty much every single account.
Aaron played himself right into Mustafa's hands. It didn't take too long for Mustafa as he logged into Aaron Barr's company email and leaked over 70,000 confidential email exchanges. This online hack resulted in shocking real-world consequences for Aaron Barr.
He ended up losing his job. There were death threats to him and his family. They had to move house. So the impact for him was very serious.
But this was just the beginning of the serious real-world consequences of Operation Anti-Sec. Mustafa and LulzSec were ready to take on their next target, another FBI affiliate known as InfraGard.
InfraGard is an alliance of volunteers from the government and private sectors who want to make sure the country's infrastructure is secure.
InfraGard is a non-profit organization that helps the FBI securely share online information with other governments and businesses. And they were also one of the biggest victims of LulzSec and Operation Anti-Sec. In 2011, the war on InfraGard began in response to President Barack Obama declaring war on cybercriminals. LulzSec was marked as one of these cybercriminals, and the US government was determined to take them down.
In recent breaches, more than 100 million Americans had their personal data compromised. This is a direct threat to the economic security of American families, not just the economy overall, and to the well-being of our children.
LulzSec didn't take this lightly, and just as they've done before, they once again took action. They did pranks like calling the FBI pretending to be President Obama.
Yes, hello, who am I speaking with?
This is the FBI.
We have a very serious issue here, a self-replicating flame botnet.
But this was just the beginning of their attacks. LulzSec hacked into InfraGard's website and vandalized it. They wrote a message all over it saying, "Let it flow, you stupid, stupid FBI battleships." It wasn't long until LulzSec managed to get their hands on the login details of InfraGard users. They used this classified information against one particular user, Kareem Hijazi. Hijazi was known as a white hat hacker, which means that companies allowed him them to hack their sites to test their security. Hijazi used his hacking skills to legally collect data for both InfraGard and the FBI, making him a goldmine of classified FBI information. With so much sensitive information at stake, LulzSec saw an opportunity. They threatened Hijazi, saying they'd leak all his data unless he paid up. So not only did they have this goldmine of FBI information, but they also had Kareem Hijazi pushed into a corner. But Hijazi didn't give in to their ultimatum. Instead, Hijazi exposed them. He released a public statement saying, "In spite of these threats, I refuse to pay off LulzSec or supply them with access to this sensitive botnet information. Had we agreed to provide this data to them, LulzSec would have been able to grow the size and scope of their DDoS attack and fraud capabilities." However, this exposure wasn't enough to drive Mustafa or the LulzSec group away. Instead, it added more fuel to their fire and pointed them toward their biggest hacking target of all time, the CIA. They began by launching a DDoS attack on the CIA website. DDoS stands for Distributed Denial of Service. It involves hacking into a website and flooding its server with online traffic until the website shuts down.
Basically what it does is it floods a website with so many requests, so many bogus visitors that from so many different directions that the site simply crumples under the traffic.
Think about a DDoS attack this way. Let's say you're in math class. Your math teacher is showing you how to do a math equation. You're able to keep up with what they're saying at first. Your teacher begins speaking faster and throwing more and more information at you. Soon enough, you're no longer able to process what your teacher is saying, so you give up and your brain shuts down. This is what happened to the CIA website. Mustafa and LulzSec flooded the CIA website servers until they shut it offline. But the website didn't just go offline. All of the CIA's internal databases also shut down. At 16 years old, Mustafa infiltrated the most secure government organization and news spread like wildfire. This was a massive embarrassment for the US government. After 4 hours of hacking chaos, LulzSec posted a tweet saying, "Good night, Twitter. The CIA anti-lizards will probably rise from the packet seat while we rest our shining yet saturated power field arrays." To Mustafa and LulzSec, this was their ultimate hacking accomplishment. But little did Mustafa or the other LulzSec members know there was a rat among them, and the hack into the CIA was already compromised from the beginning. The double agent. Imagine going through multiple operations with your close friends only to find out that one of them was a double agent. Well, the CIA hack was compromised from the very beginning. Enter Hector Monsegur, aka Sabu.
Monsegur eventually adopted the name Sabu and joined a mysterious group of hackers about to take off.
That mysterious group was LulzSec, and Sabu was one of its founding members. But Sabu's road to becoming a famous hacker was full of hardships and tragedy. Sabu was originally born in Puerto Rico and entered the world with odds already stacked against him. His 16-year-old father carried the responsibility of taking care of Sabu on his own after his mother left. Eventually, Sabu and his family immigrated from Puerto Rico to New York City, where he grew up in the projects and was raised by his father and his grandmother. But by 2010, with his grandmother's passing, Sabu found himself stepping up to take care of his 2 young nieces. Money was tight, and the weight of responsibilities were heavy for Sabu. He needed to provide for his family, but the way he did that wasn't simply by getting a job. Sabu began hacking into large banks and committing credit card fraud. But what started out as hacking to provide for his family turned into an unexpected passion. He dove into the world of hacktivism, which is a combination of computer hacking and activism for a political or social agenda. And just like Mustafa, he found his calling with one of the biggest online hacktivism groups of all time, Anonymous. He met other Anonymous members online who shared his passion for hacking. One of those online members was 16-year-old Mustafa. From there, Sabu, Mustafa, and 4 other Anonymous members formed LulzSec. Sabu was one of the members that played a key role in the LulzSec hacking operations, specifically the InfraGard hacks. But little did Sabu know he was being watched. Days after LulzSec hacked into the FBI affiliate InfraGard, the FBI came knocking on Sabu's door. They finally arrested Sabu and gave him an ultimatum.
So he said, well, we know who you are. We know what you're doing, and we also know you have 2 kids in the house. You make the decision.
Sabu had a choice. He could refuse to give up information about Lulzsec and risk going to jail, or he could help the FBI and avoid jail time. Sabu decided to do what was best for his family and became an FBI informant. His main mission? Help the FBI take down Lulzsec. To carry out this mission, Sabu continued working with Lulzsec and participated in their CIA hack, which helped him seem less suspicious. While he was doing this, he was also collecting Lulzsec's secret data and chat logs. Mustafa and the other Lulzsec members had no idea. Whether Sabu felt bad for turning on his fellow Lulzsec members is up for debate.
It wasn't a situation where I identified anybody. I didn't point my fingers at nobody. I did not provide...
You're rationalizing this.
No, I'm giving you reality. My cooperation entailed logging and providing intelligence.
In reality, Sabu's decision led to a downward spiral for his fellow Lulzsec member, Mustafa. While playing on his computer in his childhood bedroom, Mustafa heard a bang on the door. It was the UK police. The police barged into Mustafa's bedroom and raided the entire room.
I just kind of sat in my room for 3 hours as I watched them try to search my whole room for any kind of like USB sticks or laptops.
From there, he was taken to the police station for interrogation. The police informed him that he was being charged with 80 crimes, each charge equaling 1 hack he carried out with Lulzsec. Little did they know, they weren't dealing with your average 16-year-old.
Were you scared at this point? I don't think I was scared specifically. I was more annoyed or pissed off.
The police interrogation lasted for hours, but Mustafa gave up 0 information about Lulzsec members or government hacks.
And they were hoping that I would basically reveal to them what I did or try to snitch on other people in the group. I didn't. I just every question they would ask, I would say no comment.
After being in custody for 24 hours, the police were forced to let him go. But Mustafa was far from being off the hook for the cybercrimes he committed. What followed was a dramatic court case fit for TV. In May of 2013, Mustafa came face to face with 3 fellow Lulzsec members for the first time ever in real life in court. One of the most shocking twists was that one Lulzsec member had been lying about their identity the whole time. A 16-year-old girl named Kayla was actually a 26-year-old military veteran named Ryan Aykroyd. But this was just one of the many courtroom twists. Mustafa ended up pleading guilty to computer misuse. So this should have been an easy case for the defense lawyers because he pleaded guilty, right? Well, the defense was limited on what they could reveal in court. This was because they couldn't reveal how the police tracked down Mustafa.
If they reveal how they caught me, that's like a matter of national security because they're revealing the spy techniques.
This limited the amount of evidence the police could provide. As a result, Mustafa was only charged with 2 counts of cyber hacking. From there, it was time for sentencing. At their sentencing, the judge had harsh words for Mustafa and the other Lulzsec members. You cared nothing for the privacy of others, but did everything you could through your computer activities to hide your own identities while seeking publicity.
Mustafa al-Bassam, the youngest of the hackers, was given a 20-month suspended sentence for 2 years, plus 300 hours of community work.
With a suspended sentence, Mustafa would have to serve 20 years in jail only if he committed another crime. He ended up serving his 320 hours of community service working at a non-profit clothing store that sold clothes for deaf and blind people. His harshest punishment was a serious crime prevention order. This meant that he had to inform the police anytime he bought or threw away a computer. He also couldn't delete his browser history, but the golden child of hacking found a loophole.
They never said I couldn't use private browsing mode, so that was the easy way around it.
After the court case saga, there was still one big question. Was this the end of Lulzsec? Whether Lulzsec is still around remains a mystery. After the members' arrests, Lulzsec claimed they were disbanding.
In a statement released on its Twitter account, it said,
"Our crew of 6 wishes you a happy 2011. So with those last thoughts, it's time to say bon voyage."
However, there are thought to be offshoots of Lulzsec operating in China and Latin America. Mustafa is no longer a member of Lulzsec, but where's the golden child of hacking now? From villain to hero? Today, Mustafa's life looks pretty different from what you'd expect for a convicted felon. After his arrest, Mustafa earned a PhD in scaling cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology from University College London. And in 2021, he founded a company, Celestia Labs, that uses blockchain technology to provide Web3 security. He even landed a spot on Forbes' list of the top 30 tech entrepreneurs under the age of 30. But there's one very ironic part to the story. Mustafa now advises companies and governments on how to strengthen their cybersecurity. Yes, the 16-year-old who hacked the CIA now helps protect against hackers.
The companies that are being impacted by this ransomware today are the companies that haven't updated their software. This is why it's very important to make sure that your software is up to date so that any vulnerabilities on your systems can be patched.
Today, Mustafa is considered a tech mogul and has an estimated net worth between $5 to $10 million. Despite his success, some people are still critical of Mustafa. They argue that Mustafa got off too easily for his cybercrimes against the FBI and CIA. But it all boils down to this. Is Mustafa a criminal mastermind posing a major threat to national security? Or is he a cyber Robin Hood, taking from greedy governments and giving to the public? Before you answer, consider this. We're presented with a choice between good and evil every single day. This choice can be as small as driving on the highway and letting a car merge into your lane versus speeding up and blocking them. Whichever option you choose, you have your own reason behind it. So, was Mustafa al-Bassam a villain or a hero? I'll let you decide. Visual Venture. Wait, before you go, click this playlist right here to watch more dark internet documentaries, because the algorithm will promote my channel more if you guys watch multiple videos. Please have an absolutely wonderful week. Peace.